welcome to Life Chats with Maggie and Bunny. I'm Maggie.
And I'm Bunny.
So, for those of you who are not just listening, who are watching and viewing, you can see that I have somebody sitting beside me today. I am up north in New Liskeard, Ontario, visiting with my friend Tamara, who is an amazing, amazing person, and I love her to death, even though she's thought that I was shitback crazy when she first met me. But I still love her to death, and who knows?
And I still think she's shitback crazy, so perfect.
So who knows? It's a match made in heaven. So anyway, Tamara, not only is she my friend, she's my death doula business partner when she lived in the Niagara region. She owns Guiding Hand, and she is the manager of small business Temiskaming. So she does a lot. The woman has more energy than anyone I have seen, and it's just incredible. So I invited her to be on today because I'm here. Why not?
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about perseverance, because Tamara's somebody that in her life, she had to learn that at a very young age. She had to learn what that word meant before she probably even knew what that word meant. So Tamara, just tell us a little bit about whatever you want to share with us. How did you learn about perseverance?
So I think perseverance means something different for everyone. Everybody carries a heavy load, some more than others, some different days, some different situations. But we have to make sure that we validate and we respect every single one of us, our stories. So personally, for myself, I didn't grow up, which many people didn't, in the ideal environment. I never felt safe. My mom went through trauma, abuse. The podcast is not really about that, but that's the backstory of where I started realizing that I needed to protect my own energies. I needed to achieve my own goals in life at a very young age. At like 10 years old, I remember being in a closet, holding my brother and sister that were babies and trying to keep them quiet. So my mom's partner, my stepdad, would not find us in the closet because he was intoxicated. And that feeling of sitting in the closet, and I don't remember a lot of my childhood, but I remember being in there, and I remember setting the tone for the rest of my life at that young age. I didn't even know what perseverance meant, but I knew that whatever was happening to me at that time was not going to last forever. And I really needed to set myself up for my own success. So my life never looked like the life that my mother was living, or that many other women were living. And back in the 80s, and even before that, the late 70s, I was born in 68. So, the 70s, the 80s were pretty much my world. And at that time, there was a lot of hush hush when there was abuse. People don't realize that it wasn't only the 30s. It was actually that present 80s, late 70s. People were still living in homes where their children weren't safe, where they weren't safe. So I remember sitting in the closet, and I literally remember saying to myself, you know what? This is not what you're going to do. You're going to be something. Mm-hmm. But that was kind of the start of something dangerous too. Because now, from everything that I was living as a child and the high expectations I was setting for myself, I slowly learned through my life I was becoming an overachiever, a control freak, and many other things that can limit you. They limit your spirit and your personality. So for me, yes, it was good. I had that focus, and I was a list person. I'm doing this year. I'm getting this certificate. I'm graduating from this and this and this. But I was always trying to get recognition that I never had. So I always wanted to be the one that, oh my gosh, she did such a good job. Like, I always wanted to hear that. So as I was growing up and persevered through childhood and went out, I left home at 15. and moved on my own to create my own life at 15. I got pregnant at 16. I've had one son in my life, and that changed everything for me. That changed everything, where I might have been 16 and a single mom, but I literally felt like my mind was a 30-year-old and I knew exactly what direction I wanted to take in life. So that's when it all started. Then it was like, okay, you need to graduate from business administration. Okay, did that. Now what? Oh, now I'm going to open a business. Okay, did that. Now what? It was a constant, always reaching for better. And then as I got older in my 40s, I started realizing that I was always reaching for better, for someone to come and tell me how good I was and how smart I was. I wasn't dumb. I wasn't the things that I was told in abusive environments when I was younger. So once I learned how to do self-talk and a lot of self-analyzing, and a light bulb came on and went, okay, so you are an overachiever. And really, are you doing all this for you, or are you doing all of this for recognition from other people? And why does that even matter? So once I started to know who I was, there's a whole other world that opened up for me, whole other world. So yes, I still have to set myself boundaries, because I'm still an overachiever. I have to remind myself that yes, I do not control everything. Creator does. I can't fix everyone. So little lessons as we grow, we really try to get through. Also was through an abusive, dysfunctional marriage very young. I was married at 18 and divorced at 26, and then single again for I think 12, 13 years before I found my present husband, who I love very much match made in heaven, as some would say. But the thing is too, for me, is I think perseverance means the most is you need to get up every day, and you need to realize that your past or situations or choices that you've made in the past that you don't think are the smartest, they don't define who you are today. They're all learning experiences. So you have to learn to take the good out of everything that you see as bad that's happened to you. Now I change that to it's happened for me, because it's obviously made me the person I am today. But I just hosted an International Women's Day here in New Liskeard, and actually perseverance was the theme that I gave.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I gave that was our theme for our International Women's Day. And the speakers were fantastic. They were telling their true stories, which I was giving them a platform to do. Everyone was crying. People really could appreciate and respect hearing that other women as well carry heavy loads on our shoulders. Man, some people have children, they have sick husbands, or sick, they're caregivers of their mother, sick children, special children. There's so much that we carry on our shoulders every single day. So for me, the most important thing is you need to show up for yourself. You need to show up. I heard someone on TV once say, we are, in our world, we were taught we're going to grow up, we're going to get married, we're going to have children, and we're going to have a white picket fence. That was never my case. I was lucky if I had an old steel cow fence. And it's a metaphor for my life. Not, no picket fence, got the steel rusty,
I think do very many people have that white picket fence?
Well, now, no, I realize that I don't even know if there's any out there, right?
But even behind those white picket fence houses that we perceive as perfect, somebody is persevering through something.
100%. Absolutely. Everyone has a story. And, everyone's story is appreciative. You have to appreciate and respect everyone's story. But it's like, just, you have to show up for yourself every day, and you have to support the people around you. There's too much judgment in this world. In my 30s, I would have never been sitting on here because I had an ego. And ego is so dangerous. You combine that with being an overachiever and a control freak. And now I'm not even Tamara. I'm this idea of what I need to be because society says I should be. And I got to prove it to people that aren't even in my life anymore that this is how good I am. So it's really just bizarre because when living in St. Catharines, learned a lot about myself, you know, went to U of T for grief and did my death doula course with Maggie. I have so many things that I've done in my life. And I'm not that person that woke up at, 15 and said, I'm going to be a nurse. No. I was the person that woke up and said, I'm going to be everything. So 1 year I'm going to be a teacher. The next year I'm going to be a nurse. The next year I'm going to do this. So I think that's okay too, that people have to realize that you don't need to wake up and know what your whole life is going to look like. Some people do, and that's great. But how great is that I wanted to be everything? And I've done so many things in my life.
Yeah.
I've been in the bush. They've flown me in to cook for people that were geologists and line cutters. I worked in a restaurant. I worked in hospitals. So
you have been a teacher.
Yes. And I'm an adult teacher as well. So just knowing that it's okay to try many different things is important. But back to what I was saying about that woman that I saw on TV. It was so interesting because she said that we grow up and our idea that we need to get married, we need to have these kids, we need to have a white picket fence, we need to have this perfect idea of a family. We stand there in front of men and we stand at a marriage and we say, I will honor you, I will obey you in sickness and in health. How about you try standing in the mirror and doing that to yourself? Why don't you marry yourself?
I have goosebumps.
Marry yourself. How hard are you or anyone listening when you're sick? Oh my God, I got to get up. I got to do this. I'm feeling so sick. I got to cook supper. You're always defeating yourself and you're always hard on yourself. But yet you're so damn willing to get there and stand in front of someone and say that you're going to honor and respect them and you're going to be there in sickness and health, but you won't even do that for yourself. That I think is so important to realize as women is marry yourself first. Make yourself those promises. Then if you choose to make those promises to someone else, they're even more legit because it's coming from a real place because you know what love is and you love yourself first. And you can't love someone else if you don't love yourself first. It doesn't look the same. You can love them. You can say you love them, but it doesn't look the same when you respect yourself first.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a big part of persevering today for not only women, but because I'm a woman, I tend to advocate for women. I advocate for women, right? So to me, I think that's super important is for us to make sure that we're always there. Like the saying is all over Facebook, adjust the crown. And it's just super important that we accept people for who they are. We don't look at them. I used to think, oh my gosh, if people know or if people read, because I wrote a chapter in one of Maggie and Bunny's books, and it took me everything to write that because I felt like if I write that and people read that, they're going to look at me different because they're going to say, poor you grew up like that. And I didn't want that. I don't want sympathy. If I tell a story, it's because I want one person to understand they're not alone in it. Not because I want pity, because I don't need pity. It made me strong, man. It made me who I am. I don't regret. Yes, it's unfortunate I didn't feel safe, but that's the reality of it. So move on and start to heal, right? So that's what perseverance is pretty much for me, is showing up every day for yourself first and foremost before you do to anyone else.
Thank you. And I noticed at the beginning when you were talking, you said in the late 70s, in the early 80s, women stayed in abusive situations or men stayed, because yes, men can be abused as well. They stayed, this is 2024 and people still stay in abusive relationships.
I know many of it.
Because they're afraid, because they don't know what it looks like to be outside of that. So when you said that, back then your mother didn't have any other options, there's people today listening who are still there. Yeah. And we don't want them to think that they're any different than those other people, because it's 2024
And
we
there's still, yeah,
we still don't talk about this enough. We still don't allow people to feel safe in an unsafe environment and give them the tools to get out of it. So, what would you say to women who find themselves, or men, in a situation where they're unsafe and they're too afraid to move on? What would you say?
don't give up. Find a glimmer of hope and every day try it. So for me, I don't want to get emotional, but my mom tried to leave her situation 3 times. We didn't just leave by moving down the street. We changed provinces and we were found. So it's not always an easy situation. And then you're found, and then it's like the door knocks, you don't expect it. You open the door, and then guess what? You're standing there watching your mom get the shit kicked out of her. Right. I remember there's a song by Faith Hill that I absolutely love. And it just it reminds me so much of my mom. And my mom's name was Linda. And the song, it's Linda. And there's a lyric in there that says that the police came to the door, and the king of the house, the male, it's just a problem in a fight, that's all. The cop said, okay, no problem, done. And that's exactly how it was and how it can still be in some areas. So for me, it's just, if you're a woman, reach out to your local, and if that's not an option because your husband might be a funder of that place, which I've seen happen, you need to find someone that you can really trust. And we have great resources now because we have the internet.
Yeah.
And I think that the more you reach out and you keep trying, you finally get there.
Keep reaching out.
Yeah,
that's the
keep
thing.
reaching
Don't
out.
give up.
Don't give up. Always look for that hope. Manifest the shit out of it. Pardon my expression, but look at your life and say, what would it look like if I wasn't in this mentally or physically abusive situation? What would it look like for me? Physically feel it and imagine it every single day. And every single day, try to find that glimmer of hope to get out of your situation. And it's not easy. People used to say that about my mom all the time, and it used to piss me off. Like, I was young, I understood it at that young age, but people don't. Well, for God's sake, just leave. Okay, well, we tried. We moved to Vancouver. How further do we need to go? Right? So from Toronto to Vancouver. So it's not always as easy as you think.
Yeah.
And we just really need to make sure that less people in general, women, men, are not killed from domestic abuse, because it came very close in my family, and unfortunately, there's other families that didn't get that second chance, and we hear about it all the time, and it's still a huge problem. So back to International Women's Day. For me, when I returned to Northern Ontario, which was almost 3 years ago, it was super important to me. I didn't even know what I was doing here. I just felt like I was here to find myself, but that took maybe 3 months in my backyard. And then it was like, okay, I'm found, now what? And then I kept, I teach first aid. So I had a little business going, and I was doing that part-time. And then randomly, this position of manager of enterprise Temiskaming came across my computer. And for weeks, I looked at it because I knew it was a full circle of everything that I have ever done. So my counseling can help people start businesses and work in the community. I didn't understand what it was, but since I've been here, the whole, I don't even know, I guess Maggie would say spirit has connected me to so many beautiful things that are giving me the opportunity to help other people, which heals me too. Right? So at International Women's Day, when it was my time to run, because I just got the job, and International Women's Day, wow, what's that? Huge event to plan. My thing was, that's enough of living in Northern Ontario and having all this, oh my gosh, Indigenous, oh my God, French, oh my God, English. Like, to me, it was like, we all share this community. We need to pull everybody together. And that's the first thing I did was I went, okay, my friend from, Francophone community, come on my team. My friend from Indigenous, come on my team. Let's plan International Women's Day together. And then it was like, let's step it up. $10 from every ticket is going to go to our Pavilion Women's Center in Hillsbury. So last year we raised $800, and this year we raised $1,060,
Wow.
which I'll be donating a check to them. And to me, that makes me feel great, because that's the first place when I was in an abusive marriage that I walked 2 miles to get to. And I sat there and I talked to them. And the lady that was working there said to me, honey, you know exactly what you need to do. And you know exactly where you're going in life. And just by her telling me that recognition again, right? By her telling me, I packed up and I moved down south so fast. And again, just like had a whole different experience, whole different life. And then things started to change. But again, it's not always that easy. It wasn't easy. But when you're sitting in it, you don't think it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to really know it's possible.
It is possible. So, Bunny, do you have any questions for Tamara?
The only question that kind of was coming up for me was, does perseverance, how does it look different now as it did when you were young? Or does it look different? Like, does it change throughout your stages of life, where you are, your age, like that kind of thing? That's really my question.
For me, absolutely, it looks different. So when I'm that young girl in the closet, perseverance didn't even know what it meant. But at that time, it was staying alive in the moment, staying safe in the moment, keeping my family safe in the moment. So as I grew and different stages of life, persevering through that situation to get to the other side, where I was always that visual person. So I'd always visualize what it could look like if I could become that person. So every stage is different. And now persevering for me is getting up every day, even if I'm having a hard day, because I have hard days. Like, I've lost a lot of people in the last couple of months. I have my own baggage and my own heaviness on my shoulders, but I'm persevering, getting up, showing up for myself every day, and I'm giving a bit of myself to someone else, and I'm helping them through something. So everybody heals through different ways.
Yeah.
I've learned, for me, most of my healing comes from helping someone else heal. So I get more out of the situation sometimes than they possibly could.
Right.
So it's a give and take, right? So yes, it does change for everyone, situations, different stages in life, but it all comes down to showing up for yourself.
Yeah.
You don't show up, you're not going anywhere out of the persevering. You're not persevering at all.
Yeah. And I
so
will
am I
add.
hearing you correctly?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Am I hearing you correctly then, that you don't reach the top of the mountain in perseverance? You have to continually keep growing. It's not something like you get to scale 1 to 10 and you get to 10 and you're good. I'm done. I got this.
Well, you said a mountain. So oh my gosh, I just had it in the top of my head, the big mountain that everybody wants to climb.
Everest?
Yes, that's it, Everest. Couldn't even think of it. So people that climb Mount Everest, I'm at the top, yay. Okay, now what? You got to get down off that mountain. So you got to persevere to get down. And then what? Well, now I got to persevere to go here and to go back to work. And so it's constantly changing for situations. So yeah, you don't just hit 10 and go, all right, I'm done. I used to think it was like that when I was an overachiever. Be like, oh, I made it, yay. And then like 3 days later, now what? Now what? Because now I need another goal, right?
Yeah. True. So what were you going to say, Bunny?
Well, I was just going to say that for the song part too, and for the, when you said standing up in front of people, I do talk about singing love songs, the big love songs, but to yourself. And the one that really hits home for me is Perfect by Ed Sheeran. And so if you change that and make it yourself, and that you're singing that song to yourself, where it says, you know, I met a girl and all that, if you change that, like, it just is such a difference when it's instead of looking for other people. And also the whole self-love part, that when you do love yourself, you actually attract a different type of person into your world as well. And, you know, and then you won't accept anything less than what you will love for yourself. So that looks totally different too. And I think that's probably something that you learned growing up as well, is you know, like you said, the different things, the things you wouldn't accept in your life, and then the things that you would accept. So, you know, learning lessons and persevering through some of those moments, because
I
like
love,
you, I had a bit of a
yeah.
similar similar situation growing up as well. So yeah.
And that's great that now, I can talk about it and I'm like, huh, wow, I'm not the one person in the world that lived this.
Right.
So it's so good to know that you have a village, right? But I
Right.
love that you mentioned music,
Mhm.
because I find that in different stages of my life, no matter what age I was, music was healing for me.
Mhm.
It's empowering. There's certain songs that would come out at certain times in my life that I truly believe were written for me.
Mhm.
So right now, there's a song, and one of the choruses is, sometimes I'm in a room where I don't belong. The house is on fire and there's no alarm.
Mm.
And that's basically, it's empowering, because everybody some days feels like they're in a room where they don't belong and everything's burning and they can't get out.
Mm.
And then the
Yeah.
song goes on to say, but we're all just passing through, passengers on a ships of fools.
Mhm.
So like, sometimes songs, and that's the kick
Yeah.
I'm on now when I'm going through hard times, I'll just crank it and I'm in
Yep.
a room where I don't belong. Right?
And we do have that connection too. I remember, Tamara, I talked about my favorite band being the Tea Party, the great Canadian band, the Tea
Yes.
Party. And you also love the Tea Party. And it was like an instant
Yeah.
connection. We were like, oh, we found another person. So I think that's important too, is finding connections with, like you said, other tribes, other people. Just in a world where we're always looking for differences and reasons to like segregate people or argue with people, to find similarities and to find common ground,
Right.
so that we can come together instead, I think is really important. Because as we know so too often, we don't know what the other people are going through. Everybody we meet in every moment, we think we know what they're, but a lot of people are wearing masks to try to get through their day. And yeah,
Mhm.
just kind of going, hey, where can we relate? Where can we be the same? And then that way we can love each other and connect.
Yeah, no,
And it's having
understandable.
compassion and understanding
Right.
that everybody is on their own journey.
Mm-hmm.
Some are further down a path, some are just beginning, but it's
Right.
all a different journey. And it's all a journey of healing, because the reality of it is, it's why we come into this human meat suit, is
Mhm.
to learn human lessons and to learn what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And to our listeners today, if you're persevering through something, we want you to know that you're not alone. You are not the one person in the world going through what you're going through. It feels like it. Yes, it does. And you feel completely alone. But we're here to tell you, and Tamara's here to tell you, there's other people
Mhm.
who care. We
Yeah.
care. Reach out to somebody who cares. And in most communities in our world nowadays, thankfully, you can find some kind of support services
Mhm.
for people who are going through abuse.
Yeah.
So reach out in your community, reach out to someone if you need help,
Yes.
because it's so important. It's so important in your journey. So that's what I have to say today. Anything else, Tamara?
No, I think that what you said is just important. If there is anyone out there that's in an abusive situation, show up for yourself every day, every single day, and pledge to yourself that you're going to honor yourself, and then look for a way out, look for that glimmer of hope, and don't stop reaching.
Right.
And you'll get there. You'll get there one of the day. One of the times it'll be like, oh, got it, did it.
So
And-
thank you so much, my friend, for coming on today.
And
being
speaking
with
of
us and
reaching,
housing me.
speaking
Thanks
of
for
reaching,
having me.
how do people reach you, Tamara? If somebody wants to reach out, and how would they reach you? Would they
So
email you?
guiding hand
Mhm.
north at gmail.com is
Mhm.
where someone could reach out to me. Yeah, I do grief support work in the community. I teach first aid in the community, and I am a death doula as well. But I do work full time helping people start businesses, which is
Okay.
very rewarding as well. So
There we go.
So, Bunny, now it's your turn. How do people reach us?
Well, as always, you can visit our website at aboveandbeyond.com, email us at ataboveandbeyond@gmail.com, or visit our Facebook page, YouTube channel, as well as Spotify and everywhere else where you find podcast. I want to thank Tamara. I do miss you. Lots of love.
I miss
I
you
can't
too.
do the love thing. I don't have an iOS device. Maggie might be able to get some little hearts up there, but
I don't know if I can get it up there. Heart, heart, heart.
But yes, so I'm so glad to see the two of you together and to be able to host you on our podcast. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and you have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks for having me.